Magic 102.9 FM Abba on People and Politics, Mondays to Fridays at 9 a.m. For inquiries and participation, please call 0903-282-3717. People and Politics, providing the alternative voice within the democratic space.
All right, welcome. It's Monday. On Monday, there's an offshoot of a very wet, rainy weekend. Nonetheless, those who had great parties, they managed to, organize and, execute them. On radio, we do the talking, whether it's raining or not. Last Friday, we did highlight some of the issues surrounding the loan acquired by the government of Abia State from the World Bank and the controversy surrounding this particular loan, what project is meant for, whether it is warehoused by the government, issues arising from that. And we did promise that we'll be having, someone from the government angle to deal with that. It has to do with the environment, basically. If you look at, Port Harcourt Road, Obohia, Onwughara Road, and school. We also know that there is an organization or establishment that is dealing with how the environment could be made better for the people of that area. We've had the guest in the house around before, and he's back. We're looking at Engineer Izuchukwu Onwughara, who's the project coordinator, Abia State Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Project, NEWMAP. You're welcome, Engineer.
Thank you, Agabani. Good morning, and good morning to listeners.
All right, before we go ahead, let's just take this short break. We'll be back with you, Engineer. Stay with us.
Government wishes to assure traders that it will work to ensure minimal disruptions to trading activities while executing this project, which has now been made more urgent and crucial because of the recent flooding forecast from the Nigerian Meteorological Agency (NEWMAP). We will also not in any way tolerate any attempt by any individual or group to disrupt the planned work, as we have consulted widely enough and given enough grace periods long before now for alternative solutions which never yielded any meaningful result. Finally, we solicit the understanding and support of all Abians as we reset our commitment to delivering a modern market to our people. Thank you. Signed, Chief John Okiyikalu, Honorable Commissioner for Information, Abia State.
People and Politics, providing the alternative voice within the democratic space.
All right, it's People and Politics, and I am Bonnie Onogu.
I am Anastasia Uchenna.
Indeed, we are hosting, and again, the guest is Engineer Izuchukwu Onwughara, the project coordinator, Abia State Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Project, NEWMAP. He's accompanied this morning, even though he's not going to be on air, by the community liaison officer. I hope I got that right, Mr. Obinna Abara, my very good friend. All right, so, Engineer.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's NEWMAP, it's like, even though you've been here once, twice before, a lot of people do not know the background to NEWMAP itself. Before we go into projects being handled, monies being gotten as loan from the World Bank or anywhere, and the extent of job done. But let's have the background to what NEWMAP is all about.
Thank you, Bonnie. For the obtained time and for the benefit of those who are listening to us this morning, who probably today is the first time they're getting to hear my voice on this matter. NEWMAP is an acronym and it stands for Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Project. Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Project. It is a project that was started at the time that Dr. Goodluck Jonathan was the president of this country, and it was intended for essentially the southeastern states to combat the menace of gully erosion within our geographical space. Eventually that project advanced to include activities within flood control. Essentially the project started for the 5 southeastern states with Cross River and Edo, but as we come today, that project is in 23 out of the 36 states of the Federation. Enough of the federal thing. What do we do in Abia? NEWMAP has been able to wade into, control and totally manage challenges of erosion in particular places in Abia State. At Amoda Achara in Umunnochi local government area, at Umuagu Ibeku and Omoda Isimbu in Umuahia North, at Izuchukwu Nsulu in Isialangwa North, at Onwughara Nsulu in Isialangwa North, at Amuzukwu Ibeku in Onwughara North. These 5 sites have been completed with a retinue of other activities that border on livelihood enhancement for the people. Presently, our attention is turned to Abia, and we are doing flood mitigation activities within Abia.
Well, Abia is like a star player in a football match. If anything happens to that star player, it's like the whole team has crumbled. That is the nature of Abia when you talk about Abia State. Now, the project in Abia, give us the totality of the project that NEWMAP is handling.
Okay, not just for those residents in Abia, what Abia means to them and what it means to Abia. Let me say that Abia means a lot to the Igbo man, to the average Southeasterner. And I can tell you the passion with which my colleagues, project coordinators from the other Southeastern states are finding out and encouraging and pushing on to make sure that we deliver on Abia. What are we actually doing in Abia? First and foremost, we prepared a design for intervention to ameliorate, to mitigate the challenge of flood inside Abia. 4 very critical zones we are identified. The Ifobara zone in Abia, near area, the Orata floodplain, Orata by Port Harcourt Road, the Onwughara plain that has the Onwughara pond at Uboya Road, and then the Engr flood disaster area. And within NEWMAP, following very rigorous processes, designs were prepared, World Bank standard and cleared at the headquarters of NEWMAP, of the World Bank, and then released back to us. What I mean by that is that no objection was declared by the World Bank that these designs are okay and can now be implemented. And those projects were returned to us as properly designed. Then the next stage was to get into procurement. NEWMAP is a project across 23 states, like I said, and we have a central envelope. I think it's important people will understand what I'm saying. The money is in a central bucket, in an envelope, and it is demand driven. When your design is ready to be funded, you can dip your hand there and take funds and go and implement. And so the structure within the nation looked at what Abia NEWMAP already had. We had 4 designs ready, and the totality of implementing all 4 was about $400 to $500 million. And the envelope of NEWMAP for the whole of Nigeria is about that 500 million. So you cannot allow
dollars, naira?
Naira, sorry, dollars.
Okay.
NEWMAP started as $508 million, 500 of it as a loan and 8 million as a grant for the entire nation to use. And by 2020, an additional $400 million was given, additional funding. So as we stand today, NEWMAP as a project in Nigeria is an envelope of $908 million. And you can imagine what it will mean if Abia State, 1 out of the 23 participating states, should take 400 million out of the entire envelope. So the bank and the federal government, the Federal Ministry of Finance, the Federal Ministry of Environment advised for prioritization. And the state, now having looked at all the things that were facing us, said, let us take Orata and Onwughara floodplains first, because they are interrelated, and the work to be done in those areas will affect the greater number of persons that we want to rescue in the Amamo and Onwughara axis. So that's what we took upon us. By 2019, the advert to pick up a contractor was put up in national dailies, and a total of about 14 companies bought our bidding forms and tendered for that job. And after a very rigorous process of evaluation, which had to be sent to the overall procurement review committee of the World Bank in Washington, a group in joint partnership, NBHH and Heartland won that contract. The contract was signed on the 30th of April 2020 at the heat of the COVID lockdown. And in spite of all the challenges, we actually handed over that site to the group on the 6th of June 2020. So that is what we have. The work we have in Abia under NEWMAP is that of taking flood away from Onwughara flood, the Boro Pit at Oboya Road, and the Orata floodplain at Orata by Port Harcourt Road, and finding a safe passage into Abia River. And of course, tackling a number of appurtenances or road activities that are contingent upon that flood activity. To be specific, the reconstruction of Onwughara Road.
We'll be coming to that, engineer.
I'm telling us everything that is
Okay.
in that envelope.
Okay.
The reconstruction of Onwughara Road, the reconstruction of Oboya Road, and then the moving of this storm water down to Abia River. I wanted us to mention this from the onset because of what's been going on. Everybody has talked about Ohanko, talked about Port Harcourt Road, talked about Orata Road, talked about Fox Road. Everybody wants to say that every of these things are part of this job, and they are not. I'm saying it emphatically that they are not, so we can take it up from there.
Oh, okay. That's. I'm not sure I knew that part as well. So, okay, now I know. Basically, it's also good what you said earlier about some of the projects you highlighted in other local governments, because before now, the bulk of my discussion around NEWMAP is usually Abia. So it's good to know that there are also other local governments also that have benefited from the NEWMAP project. A quick question. What so far has been challenges NEWMAP has encountered in discharge of this assignment?
Our biggest challenge has been the buy-in of the communities of the state. I would say this way: we are oversubscribed. We've delivered transformational results across the local governments where we performed, and so everyone that has a challenge has had to come to NEWMAP to ask us to come in to intervene. The second challenge NEWMAP has been facing is that we have a very rigorous process for prioritization, choice of sites. We also have another very long and tenuous process of designing and getting the designs approved. We have a process that is top-notch in procurement, in the process of trying to choose a service provider, a contractor that will execute any of our jobs. And these processes are no respecter of the challenges of the community or the hues and the cries of people who think they know better. We must have to go through these processes. And you see, while we are doing it, people are wants to cry that you've abandoned us, you've taken our money and all of that. They are challenges, but we are facing them because we are here to deliver results to the people, and we don't cow away from such challenges.
Okay, now we are still going to go to specifics because at the end of your last conversation, just before the last question and answer, you said the project you're handling basically is erosion control. It doesn't have anything to do with road construction, if I got you well, but I know that a particular company is handling road construction that is interwoven with what you're doing.
I also answered that. I said we do the reconstruction of roads that are contiguous to the flood or erosion activity that we are handling. We are not a road building agency. There is the APSEED, there is the ABROMA, and other donor agency or multilaterally funded organizations who are strictly empowered to do road construction. NEWMAP is not one. But we find ourselves doing roads, and the only roads that are integral or contiguous to the flooding or erosion work that we are carrying out.
Is Port Harcourt Road part of it?
No.
Okay. Now, Port Harcourt Road has also been an issue, as part of what we're discussing, and that also has to do with, the 56 million naira loan. First of all, what is the process of qualifying for World Bank funding for a huge project as the one you're doing?
No state goes out to pick a single isolated loan to come and do an activity in their state. It doesn't happen. The process of getting a loan for intervention flows through a very wide gamut. The Federal Ministry of Finance takes loan on behalf of the federal government for whatever activity that may be executed at the state level. The Federal Ministry of Finance signs a loan agreement with that multilateral agency. Then participating states will sign what we call a subsidiary loan agreement with the Federal Ministry of Finance. And two, activities are domiciled, depending on what they are, in a particular ministry that is most relevant for that activity. For what we are doing, it is domiciled at the Federal Ministry of Environment and the State Ministry of Environment. For some activities, it might be domiciled in the Ministry of Works or in the Ministry of Agriculture. So ours is Ministry of Environment. How do you qualify to get this? Long ago, during the tenure of Goodluck Jonathan as the president, governors in the Southeast cried to Mr. President about the menace of gully erosion within the Southeast geopolitical zone. And the president gave instruction to source for some funds to help the Southeast. The Federal Ministry of Finance got into talking with the World Bank, and a very long process of developing a project appraisal document and implementation manuals were created, and the project called NEWMAP was birthed, Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Project, for the purpose of intervening in erosion matters. It was essentially for the Southeast. For Abia as a state in the Southeast to qualify, we needed to have an office that the state government will provide and furnish it. We needed to have a state project management unit of civil servants engaged and seconded into that project with an assurance by the state government to maintain that office. The state also had to provide counterpart funding, what we call GCC, government counterpart funding, to a particular tune. Number 4, government had to engage a local consultant and prioritize at least 5 project sites and give it to that consultant to prepare the designs for intervention. Abia State met all of that, and the first 5 sites were taken, and the design was given over to Tony Bees, the consultant, to prepare a design for Izuchukwu, Izuchukwu, Eluamuke Ohafia, Amoda Achara, and Dodds Methodist Church in Uzuakoli. And at the close of that window of design, 3 were bankable. 3 designs had been achieved. The design for Izuchukwu, the design for Izuchukwu, and the design for Amoda Achara. That of Dodds and Eluamuke were yet to be completed. We had to inherit them in the second phase. So having completed these designs and having presented the evidence of our preparedness to participate by opening an office and equipping it by setting up a project management unit, World Bank now allowed Abia State to enter into a subsidiary loan agreement with the Federal Ministry of Finance. That's how Abia keyed in. Every other state does that. Now, as I said, this money is in a bucket. As it is demand driven, if I have 3 designs ready and they are going through procurement, then fund will be released from that pocket for us to implement our designs. When we started with the 3 designs, Ebonyi State, for instance, had only 1 site, so they had to draw for only 1 site. Cross River had 4, they had to draw for 4. Enugu State had only 3, they had to draw for 3. Edo State had 3, they had to draw for 3. It is demand driven. So Abia State, or any state for that matter, does not go outright and say, I'm engaging with the World Bank, I'm taking a loan from the World Bank, I want to use it and do Ngwa Road. It doesn't happen.
To be specific, Mr. Onwughara,
Engineer Onwughara.
Engineer.
I'm particular about it. Today I'm an engineer answering, and I want to be addressed as an engineer.
Okay, sir. Noted. The member representing Abia South in the State House of Assembly has raised alarm over certain issues around your work in his constituency, but it looked as though your office has not really given him some form of response because he has kept talking about it. And so let me be specific. $56 million, he did say, was earmarked for certain projects in his constituency, and he says that there is nothing on ground to show that you have assessed that kind of money. So I put it to you, sir, what's going on in Abia South?
Are you asking me, or are you putting it to me?
I am asking you.
Better. Thank you. That honorable member is wrong. I wish he was in the studio now. Maybe people will arrange for a time he will be here and I will be here, so that he can come up with his facts, and I won't mind bringing my entire office documents to this place. There was never a time a certain $56 million was earmarked for projects in his constituency. It is a lie. I just hope he is listening to me and his cohorts and the whole of Abangwa people. There was never a time a certain $56 million was taken as a loan by the present administration and earmarked for projects to be executed in Obinna Ichita's constituency. It is not true. Can you ask the next man?
So what is the truth?
Good. The truth is this. Having started benefiting from NEWMAP, Abia State NEWMAP and Abia State government started prioritizing projects and getting them designed and keying in and drawing money from the large bucket, from the envelope of NEWMAP nationally. And our method of operation all along had been, when the project took off, the World Bank left an amount, $2 million, in our special IDA account. And as we spend for budget activities or project activities, we submit a statement of expenditure to show and to retire for what we have spent. And thereafter, the World Bank will replenish that amount such that at any time there will be a balance of $2 million, so that project implementation will not be hampered or hindered. At some point in late 2016 into early 2017, the World Bank changed to a new method of financial disbursement called result-based disbursement. And they asked every NEWMAP state participating to do a projection of what they think they will need to carry out activities in the year 2017 and 2018, and to say how much they think they will need for such activities. Abia NEWMAP, like all the 11 or 17 states that were participating then, did our projections and our forecasts. And at the end of that exercise, the Federal Ministry of Finance and the Nigeria Country Office of World Bank in Nigeria did an assessment and did an allotment, an allocation of funds to states according to the projects that they had lined up that they will do. By 2017, I had a project I wanted to start at Omoagui Ibek and Omodaisingu. I had Izuchukwu Ibek ongoing. I had Umezuku ongoing. I had Amodachara ongoing. I was expecting to advertise for Abba. So we checked how much we'd be needing to pay as milestone per time for all of these our intervention. We had the welfare of, we had the livelihood and enhancement activities that we were doing in several communities. All of them plus our project management bill, we lumped them after separating them to be analyzed. And when we submitted, the World Bank in their wisdom cleared whatever several states applied for according to their need. And Abia State was given $54.4 million. $54.4 million on top of the assumed $2 million that recurs inside our account. When you add that 54 to the 2 million in our account, that is how the grammar of 56 million came about. And it is for our entire operation in Abia State, essentially gully erosion control and then subsidiarily flood control. It was not earmarked for projects in Abba South local government. That's not true.
Anyway, let's look at it from the government angle. And when I say government in this case, I'll leave out the judiciary and look at the executive and the legislature here. Normally, if I understand it pretty well, there's supposed to be some level of synergy by what they call appropriation and all that. If a project of this magnitude is coming into Abia State, does it have to have any communication, passed to the legislature? Because the person at the center, based on the last question, is a legislator from Abia South State constituency, Obinna Ichita, who has said that $56 million had been accessed, which of course you just mentioned. Was there no communication whatsoever between the executive and the legislature on this kind of project, which by any means is humongous, such that they would have been at the tap of the button, they are aware of what is going on?
There was.
Because he has also said that he raised the issue on the floor of the House, this particular issue.
And what happened? Did they shout him down?
They didn't shout him down. They passed a resolution. But execution of it is the issue, according to him. So is there any communication as it was going on, because the legislature is supposed to appropriate all of this?
My brother, let us face facts. I was saying something outside before I entered this studio. While campaigns are going on, we are politicking. I'm a core civil servant. I have to be very frank in saying this. While politicking and campaigns are going on, I call that all of politicking, can take any form or any measure. But once elections are done, winners are declared and they were sworn in, I think the next thing on the board, the front burner, should become governance. And governance is everybody's business, from those of us who are the masses to the legislature and to the executive. And at that point, I believe that the sensible thing for opposition to do is to try to make suggestions and contributions on the way forward, because whether you won or I won, all of us wanted to make life better for our people. And then that should be a front burner even before criticism. And by the way, criticism should be such that it is very positive and constructive and aimed at bettering the lot of the people that we are leading. I want to say this in all honesty. The House of Assembly is very much apprised of all that is going on as far as NEWMAP is concerned, and as far as the activities we are doing in Abia is concerned. First, there is an appropriation committee in the House, and every year that the State Ministry of Environment goes to defend their budget in the House, NEWMAP is always there. We're always making our presentations. There is a House committee on the environment. NEWMAP is always appearing before that committee. Presently, we even have an executive bill submitted by the governor to convert NEWMAP to an agency, which has passed first or second reading in the House. The activities of NEWMAP are not shrouded in mysteries. And Honorable Obinna, I'm sure, is part of that House. Unless for each of these activities, he was always absent when they were done on the floor. I'm sure it's not a Thomas that missed all the appearances of Jesus after Jesus was resurrected from the dead. But I want to tell you that the House knows. The House gets to check what we do at every moment. And there is no time any subcommittee in the House has invited NEWMAP to explain our activities, which we have not. In fact, at a time, there was an arrangement made. Or let me go a little bit backward. To enable us mainstream our activity, when Governor Keziah came on board, we needed counterpart funding to advance our project, because having awarded the first 3 contracts, we could not go in to do civil works because we had not done the necessary compensations. And that was where we were when Keziah came in and took over as governor. And the first thing he was to do was to help us get some money as counterpart funding. And it went through the House of Assembly, and they appropriated the first 50 million naira that was given to NEWMAP by between August and December of 2015. And thereafter, the same House of Assembly appropriated another 300 million naira, which was also released to NEWMAP as counterpart funding. As at today, from our inception till today, NEWMAP has received a total of 750 million naira as counterpart funding, and no one kobo of it did not pass through the House of Assembly. So I'm at a loss when somebody says maybe that it is shrouded in mysteries. It is not.
Okay, we'll be taking him further, but let's go on this short break again. When we return, we'll prepare our minds to deal with some of the issues, particularly the ongoing projects, the ones that concern NEWMAP. Because in our discussion with Honorable Obinna Ichita last week, he did say that the previous weekend he had taken a stroll around the project sites and nothing was going on. You may want to shed light on that when we return.
People and politics, providing the alternative voice within the democratic space.
And so we still have in the house Engineer Izuchukwu Onwughara, the project coordinator, Abia State Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Project NEWMAP. We're dealing with very critical issues, and these issues are indeed critical because they've raised a whole lot of dust. Annie?
Yes, sir, you did mention before the break that you're more on erosion control. You don't do roads. You only do road when it has to have any interface with what you're doing. Okay, so now that you've explained that the $56 million is for the entire Abia state, my question now will be, in line with Obinna Ichita's question, what is the status of what you're doing in Abia South now? Because he's complaining there's no progress.
No, ma, he's not complaining that there is no progress. He's complaining that nothing is going on at all.
So
there are two different things.
Okay, so answer that.
He is
Is
wrong.
something going on?
He is wrong on both counts. Something is going on, and there is progress. So, what is the status of the work we are doing in Orata floodplain and Umuabai floodplain? Let him not just localize it to Abia South local government area, because by explaining the floodplains, you discover that our work extends to Ogunabo, it extends to Abia North, and so on and so forth. So let him talk about the floodplains we are dealing with. It is true that the bulk of the job is around his own state constituency. The status of that job now is that work is ongoing. Number one, we are working on Engr Road. Engr Road is a very critical delivery. Very critical component in our project delivery in that axis, and we are working on restoring Engr Road. Well, everybody around that area will know that the road construction is going on, the drainage is going on. We have completed, the contractor has completed the drainage work on the right hand side up to the Abia River. On the left hand side, work is still ongoing now, and then a lot of demolitions and shifting of fences to give the right of way. Everybody in that axis of Abia will tell us that, will bear us witness that the road width from number 1 Engr Road up to about east is wider than from east down to Emelogo or the bridge. And the reason is because people took advantage of the fact that that road had not been asphalted and encroached into the right of way. And in reconstructing this road, what the contractor has been doing is to make sure that we maintain that original width, which is 13 meters from number 1 Engr Road down to the river. We are taking it that way. And the demolitions have been going on, the replacements have been going on, the drainage construction going on, and then the actual restoration of the pavement going on. Right now, what people are seeing and they are saying work is not going on is because no laterite is being poured on the road. And of course, you don't do laterite pavement work at the peak of the rainy season. No reasonable contractor does earthworks during the rainy season. You shrink your workforce and you concentrate on concreting. Concrete has no problem with rains or with water. So presently, concreting work is going on Engr Road. Between Engr Road and Mpuebule and Azza community, where our water is going to wash out into Abia River, we have a link of several roads: Ogwo Road, Aja Road, Onyemechi Road, and some other small streets that make up a total of 3.65 kilometers. Earthworks had been done substantially before the rains started. Right now, serious drainage activity is going on, and the contractor just has to scale down and continue with concreting work so that as soon as the rains subside, they will go back to pavement work. So it is this reduction in activity to concentrate on drainage works that those who said work has stopped or there is no progress being made, that is what they are making allusion to. Fact is that work is ongoing on that site.
Is there any form of engagement with stakeholders in that constituency?
From the time, yes ma, from the time the project was initiated, enunciated with us, when we started the consultants coming around to take samples, to do surveys, we started community engagement. I'm talking as far back as 2015. Residents, indigenes of Obuda and Orata and Umwabai or Uboya Road will bear us witness that as far back as 2015, we started serious community engagement, stakeholder engagement, and opinion leaders engaging with them. And then when the contract was finally awarded and the contractor was coming to begin his work, we also had several of such engagements. 2 of such special engagements involved raising committees from the indigenes in those areas, what we call the resettlement committee, a committee from within the community that will help to supervise the payment of compensations to make sure that they are not paid to the wrong persons. We have that committee from indigenes of that community. We have another committee that is called the site committee, who joins us to have oversight on the construction activities. And then we have the resettlement. So these committees were all drawn from their communities. And not too long ago, the Umwabai people felt they were not quite understanding what we were doing. And they wrote us that unless we came for a Georgia, that they may not be disposed to continue to allow us to work. And we held a very special engagement with them at St. Peter's Anglican Church on Oboya Road. That's the Umwabai people. Honorable Simon Eme, decent politician, several times commissioner, several time advisor, local government chairman, he was in that meeting. I know how many times persons like Chirechi Nwogu, the pharmacist, and a lot of seasoned persons from that constituency have either attended our stakeholder engagements or shown interest by calling or asking. And I want to challenge my dear brother Obinna. He doesn't know me in person. Unfortunately, I don't know him. Has he ever called me on phone? One of the things they put out in the social media, he even wrote my name, so he knows my name. Has he ever called me? Has he ever written a letter? Has he ever accosted me, even if it is not decent, but violently? And let it be that we did not answer him. Is it not rascally to take misinformation, half-truths to the people and say that money that was meant for an entire state for all the activities we are doing in the state, that the governor took it as a loan and appropriated it for your constituency, and that you cannot see what that money is being used for? I think it's not being very, very fair. Honestly, he is not.
All right, and I was speaking with a government official last week in the heat of all these arguments, and I saw it from a non-political angle, but social. And then I went into the government angle too by saying, in the government system or governance system where there is cooperation, is there no possibility of, with all these raging controversies, that there would have been, a forum where the two sides would have sat to analyze all of these, rather than, making it becoming, a personal or, something that has been subjected to so much
public, to the public opinion.
Yes. Is there no possibility that either side would have called for? Because the legislature and the executive, I think it's not personal. It's about he representing his constituency. It's about the executive executing this. And he have said here that everything went through appropriation. And it is quite possible that he wasn't in the House on such days that matters of that nature, were discussed. I don't know if such matters were discussed. Papers are not passed around, even to absentees. I don't know. All right. But difficult. Is there no possibility that there could have been more maturity to this, such that we don't have this festering, recurring, public, fury?
Number one, let me say this. Abians deserve to know. You have a right to know. So if there's nothing good to take out of this, let us take the fact that Abians are knowing what is going on in their political and geographical space. You have a right to know. Much as you have that right to know, it does not mean you must be misinformed or deformed. And so what is going on is that somebody is trying to misform and deform the state, and we are trying to correct that impression. But be that as it may, there are a lot of opportunities for us to sit together and talk over these things. And one of them is that NEWMAP is a regular and continuous engager with our communities, always. And you can be sure that in the next couple of days, we'll also be going there. We do that regularly. And my dear brother is invited to come to such meetings and vent his spleen. Even if he wants to hold me on the neck, oh, when one nail and one neck, let him come and say how he feels, and let it now be incumbent on me to either tell him a lie or not to satisfy him with the truth, rather than going out.
I think that you cannot just send him an invitation on radio. But what, I think that should have been done earlier enough when he started raising this issue was to reach out to him. It's no big deal.
No, Annie, yeah, let me be.
These are some of the issues you are raising. This is the truth. This is the development. It's simple.
At the national level, we have what is called the liaison person between the presidency, for instance, which is the head of the executive, and the National Assembly. I may not know if at the state level we have such a liaison person between, state assembly liaison person. I don't know if there is, but if there is, I thought through such a person there would have been some level of communication, because I'm bothered really.
It's just a phone call away.
Because take for instance now, and I want to zero in on this, Port Harcourt Road is not part of your project, but your project passes or has something to do across Port Harcourt Road.
Good.
Is it possible that is part of the reason the road is not being constructed? Because the man in question we're looking at figures that money had also been accessed to have Port Harcourt Road, constructed. It is not your prerogative, yes, but your job. Even from my own personal experience, we passed through Port Harcourt Road in the course of going to Urata to Ifobara, before we came back to Umuagbai and the rest of them.
I can answer that. You see, sir, when I was answering a few questions earlier on, I said if our brother Obinna had made any attempt at reaching us, you journalists, when you are reporting on two sides of an event, and maybe one side of that occurrence is not cooperative, you always add a clause somewhere. Attempts to reach the police PPRO or so were made. Beautiful. And that exonerates you when you are going public with only one side of the story, because you actually made an attempt to get the other side so that your reportage will be balanced. Fine, I am saying it to him. Let all Abangwa people hear it. He has never bothered to reach us. And by starting by making it public, if I don't go public and disabuse the minds of people, and I go back to him privately and educate him privately, I am going home as the thief. There is that proverb in Igbo land that if you call somebody a thief in the market and then the market disperses and then eventually say, no, I'm sorry, he's not a thief, everybody has gone with the impression that he actually stole. That's why I'm in the public space. And by the way, he's been doing this thing for more than a month now, and we have held our peace, hoping that sanity will prevail. And it has not. We are telling Abia.
You don't expect sanity to prevail when you've not given him answers to the questions he's been asking.
The answers have been provided. He wrote, and the State Commissioner for Information replied him. You see, I belong to a system that has order and sequence.
Anyway, as we're winding up now, let's.
I think it's also important to note, since he has explained now that Port Harcourt Road is not in their deal, I think now the next battle is to shift it to Oki. That these roads, which
not okay, maybe Oki by way of information that he would have gotten from either the governor or the commissioner for works. So we can shift it to either Commissioner Bob Ogu or the governor himself, or if they feed the because I like appropriate things to be done.
Now, can I talk about Port Harcourt Road, because somehow part of my job will pass through there. You mentioned it.
Yes.
Yeah. Fine. Our original design was to do a tunneling that will come from Orata along Port Harcourt Road, Orata by Port Harcourt Road, and it will disturb the whole of Port Harcourt Road and come through Onwughara Road. Fine. That plan is being jettisoned because it will involve huge depths in compensations and in demolitions. Fine. We are changing our route, and we are doing a 2x2 box culvert that will go along Port Harcourt Road and connect Crystal Park, and from Crystal Park it will get to Oboya Road and discharge at that point. So you see that our job is now going to touch Port Harcourt Road somewhere, and that's the essence of synergy. Ministry of Works that is doing Port Harcourt Road knows that the part of what environment is doing through NEWMAP will somehow merge with theirs, and we are in constant analysis, checking the designs, checking the cost components to make sure that no person does one job twice or is paid twice for the same thing. and finding out the timeline of doing our box culvert so that it does not hamper their doing their pavement on that part of Port Harcourt Road. And I tell you, all of that is going on. All of that is going on.
Okay, engineer, just before we go, in 30, 60 seconds, the environment around that part of Abia South State constituency, how do you view it? Vis-a-vis the job that is going on, what is not going on, and all that. Is it not enough for anybody to cry?
They are in a disaster. They are in a disaster. The Engr flood disaster, the Umagbai flood. Even a blind man will know that they are in a disaster. And that's the first thing that made the governor cry for that project. NEWMAP was not initially into flood control. The governor literally cried and got that project. And the governor will not get that project and then allow it to be thrown away or to be frittered. So let people have patience with us. Governor is crying for the plight of those people. The business hub that there is in Engr is such that we cannot wish away. And we want to make sure that we give them access to a new lease of life.
All right. We need to thank you, Engineer Izuchukwu Onwughara. You've been here time and time again, and we want to have you again, more so when the project progresses, because it appears there are some breaks here and there. Some of the promises, like the tunnel excavator, I don't know whether it has arrived, but we may leave that for the next session we would have. Thank you. Onwughara, by the way, is the project coordinator, Abia State, Nigeria, Erosion and Watershed Management Project, NEWMAP. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Agaboni.
And let's also thank Obinna, who is the CLO, Community Liaison Officer, for tagging along. You're welcome. Thank you, sir. All right.
And thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming. My name is Anastasia Uchenna.
I am Bonnie Onogwu. Thanks for staying tuned.